The dish with one spoon is one of the core philosophical devices of Six Nations thought. It concerns resource management and relationships. It presents the metaphor of you've got a dozen people all sitting around a soup pot. But tragedy of tragedies, there are no bowls and the only spoon is the one that was used to make the soup in the first place. So the only way to eat is for everybody to take turns. Right? Everybody sits around that big dish and they pass around that one spoon. Now in this situation there's a certain etiquette that has to be upheld in order for everybody to stay happy. And one of the first rules is that you always leave something for the next person. So let's say you got 12 people sitting around the cauldron. Let's say, for example, that you are the second to last person. Right? You're the 11th person to have the spoon, and the 10 people who came before you, each one of them took, let's say, 10% more than their due. Not a lot extra, right? An easy mistake to make. But when it comes to your turn, you find that there's only one share remaining, but there's someone left after you. In this situation, you might feel that you're entitled to take the whole thing because it's one share, and why should I suffer for other people's mistakes? But if you think that way, you're going to have trouble at the dinner table, right? The last guest, he gets to the spoon, he looks in the pot, and there's nothing left. Well, heck in it, that wasn't very polite of you, right? So what you should do in this situation is you take less than your share, right? So that everybody at least has something. Now, if, for example, you were to take your full share, you would have actually taken less than everybody else, but that last guy, he'd look at you and think, okay, well, you're the reason I didn't get to eat tonight. Whereas if you take a half share and you leave some for him, right, then he'll think, oh, he sacrificed part of his share so that I could eat. Isn't that nice of him, right? That way you made a friend rather than an enemy, right? Everybody goes to bed with at least something in their stomach. Another thing that the dish with one spoon asks, the principle asks that you take either your share or less than your share. Let's say, for example, that you're entitled to a pint of soup, but you're not that hungry. You ate something earlier and you had a bit of a lazy day, so you didn't burn very much energy, so you only need a half a pint of soup. The principle asks that you take less than your share. You don't drink the full pint, right, because you don't need it. Someone else around the table, on the other hand, might need it. You might alternatively have had a very busy day cutting firewood. Right? You might have burned a lot of energy. You might be hungry as can be. In this situation, you might actually need a pint and a half or 2 pints of soup, but your share is only 1 pint, so you don't take more than that, right? Now, ideally, if there's enough to go around, if everybody follows these rules, by the time the spoon has gone all the way around the pot, there's still going to be something left in it, right? Because everybody has taken their share or less, right? So now the spoon has gone all the way around the pot, and it's come back to you, and you're still hungry. You know that everybody around the table has already eaten, so now you can eat more than your share. You can eat what you need without guilt, without anybody begrudging you. Now, because the dish with one spoon is a metaphor, its reach obviously extends well beyond that rare scenario of when you're sitting around a table and you don't have any utensils.
It concerns pretty much any situation in which resources are limited.
So it obviously concerns the dinner table, but here's another example. Let's say that you're at a conference giving a talk. Everybody needs to have their turn at this conference. Got to say their little bit. Respectful behavior is you don't go overtime, right? And if you do go overtime, you apologize. Oh, sorry, that was my fault. I'm sorry I ate into your time slot. It's respectful for you to cut your talk a little bit short, right? One of the important areas that the dish with one spoon applies to is ecological responsibility. Your relationship with the world and natural resources. So let's say you're out hunting and you catch a deer, and then you see another deer, right? Do you take the shot, right? Do you really need 2 deer at once? You're going to be hard-pressed to eat a whole deer before it starts to rot, so maybe you should just let that other deer go, right? You've already got your share. Someone else might need that second deer more than you do. Let's say that you go out hunting every day for a week and you don't see any deer. You don't see sight nor sound of a deer. And then all of a sudden, the 7th day, just before you're going home, you finally see a deer. The dish with one spoon asks that, well, maybe you shouldn't take that deer, right? Because you haven't seen any signs of deer up to this point. It's been all week and you haven't seen any signs of them, so it's quite likely that the deer population isn't doing so well right now, right? Now, it would obviously be nice if you had some fresh venison, but you don't really need it. You've already got a freezer full of chicken or whatever, so maybe you should just let this one go because deer population isn't doing so well. You want to let it bounce back a little bit. And maybe someone else is out here hunting who absolutely does need that deer. Someone who needs it way more than you do, right? So you always leave something in the pot for the people who come after you. Now there's another extension of the metaphor which applies specifically with regards to ecological knowledge. What do you do when the pot's empty and everybody's had their fill? Everybody's had their fill, everybody's all fat and happy, ready to go to bed, right? What do? Do you leave the pot on the fire or do you stick it in the corner? No. You leave it on the fire, then all that residue is going to get baked into the pot, right? You're never going to get it clean, and all your food from here on in is going to taste like burnt fish, right? And you don't just take that pot and you stick it in the corner, because the stuff on there is going to start to rot, and then everything that you cook from there on in will smell like rotten fish. What you do when you've finished eating is you clean out that pot, right? You clean out that pot so that you can use it again tomorrow. Or maybe even better, you get a new pot of soup going. You set it on the embers so it'll cook through the night, and it'll be ready to eat for breakfast first thing in the morning. What this means is you take care of your environment. Keep your rivers and your forests healthy and happy so that they will always provide for you. So, like all metaphors, there's a lot of extensions you can make of the dish with one spoon. These are just a couple of them off the top of my head. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching.